Yeah, guys, thanks for hopping on the session today. It was a little bit late notice. I'd sent an email Saturday to some of you, but a little late notice about an hour ago. So I appreciate you being able to hop on for this geekiness, this direct mail geekiness here. This is a webinar that's going to feature ThanksIO. As a number of you guys know, I'm a co-founder over at ThanksIO, but also a lot of you guys have been following Josh and I at the Wake Up Real Estate show the last year or so. So you guys are also here. So welcome. I'm going to hop right in. I go pretty fast. There will be a replay. Slow me down if you need to. Ask questions if you need to. But this is a doc for a video that I made last week. And I had made this doc because over the past few weeks, I have had meetings, and other people on the ThanksIO team have had meetings with real estate agents, brokers, and on a couple of them, we went in way more directions than I felt comfortable with, to the point where I was kind of like, wow, I'm really not doing you a service by giving you all these options when it comes to using Thanks.io. There's so many different things that the system can do. And, you can do, there's 1,000 different ways you could use the platform. But in the back of my head, I'm thinking, well, we kind of know what works here. And it's not all these 18 options that we keep talking about over and over again with people, because we let you guys come on a call, we assess your situation, you have ideas, we have ideas, and sometimes it feels like it's not serving you. So the first bullet point I have here to set this all up is, if you're like a lot of real estate people, you could be afflicted by analysis paralysis when it comes to marketing with direct mail, or just marketing in general. There's so many different things you can do from day to day, which is what is really great about the real estate industry, but also can kind of be frustrating. When really all you need to do is consistently and repetitively, I got these bolded and underlined to get to my main point here, consistently and repetitively send one thing that works. And I would argue, and I know this from personal experience, and Josh would probably concur too. I don't know if he's on. I didn't give him a co-host. So Josh, you're stuck listening to me today. But if business is slow, you're just not consistent or repetitive enough with your marketing. I think we all agree when the pipeline is good and full, we're not too worried about it, but the pipeline slows down, no matter what your business is, real estate or otherwise, it's probably because you kind of took the pedal off the metal or whatever when it comes to, feeding your pipeline and doing your marketing. And the thing that gets in the way, I think, of consistently marketing is that you're trying to do too many different things, and instead of just hammering one thing at a time, giving it space to work, and seeing if it'll actually work out. So what specific messaging works for us, for you guys who are on right now, to engage homeowners, which, as we know, with where the industry's at, it looks like we want to be with listing agents, right? Probably more and more. We've always wanted to be listing agents, probably. But we want to engage homeowners, probably goal number one. And what specific messaging can we send to get a homeowner to engage? And those three groups, in my opinion, that I have seen in terms of results from digital ads and from the many, many, many postcards you send at Thanks.io, are these offers. See what your house might sell for. Everybody does it, yes, but very few people do it consistently with direct mail. See recent transactions in your neighborhood. Very few people do this. I'm a huge fan of this sort of campaign. And see a list of deals or investment properties, which, as Josh and I have talked about for over a decade. People will opt in to see a list of deals and investment properties, and a lot of those people will be homeowners who might list with you someday. Now, I'm going to scratch, for the purposes of this webinar, the bottom two. I'm just throwing those out there as different creatives that you could send later, or that you might build a campaign around. And I'm going to focus for the workshop section here on just building out a really good, excuse me, see what your house might sell for offer using direct mail. Now, I will mention everything you see me do here probably could translate, if you do it with the same consistency and repetition, to other channels, digital or otherwise. And then here I'm reiterating, I don't know why I wrote this again. You only need to pick one of these and repeat in order to have success. The reason I wrote that there is I know by putting 3 there, I could probably list 10 more. A lot of you guys are like, all right, I'm going to build a campaign now. It's going to have this, 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 and this in it. And that is where we see a lot of people never execute, because they feel like they need to go build 100 different things instead of building just one thing. And I got the light bulb. We always had this functionality, but I got the light bulb about a week or two ago that, hey, wait a minute. You could actually just keep sending the same thing over and over again automatically, but maybe vary it using a trick or two within the ThanksIO system. And that's what I'm going to show you guys after I'm done with this setup and running through these bullet points. So you really only need to pick one. We're going to pick to see what your house might sell for. Who should you send this message to? Now, a geographic farm is probably the one that first comes to mind if you're trying to get fresh listings. That's if you're trying to get cold listings. But also, if you've been in a neighborhood for a while, maybe where you live or whatever, if you have a farm, you're definitely going to want to make sure that farm is getting this messaging. A demographically targeted mailing list. So if you've purchased a list of maybe, I don't know, let's call it absentees, or you've put together a list of people who maybe had their house on the market, but they withdrawn, or expired or FSBO, something like that. Or people who are veterans who own a home. We recently built a pretty cool list like that for somebody, just VA mortgage holders, homeowners. So you'll have a demographically targeted list, and the third option, which you should probably always include in this, is your sphere of influence and past clients. And I think probably everybody watching this webinar right now has a list of addresses, whether it's just your friends and family right now because you just got into business, right? Or it's the 500, 600, 5,000 people you've sold houses to in the past decade or two. No matter how big that is, you have a list of people with addresses that you're probably not sending mail to on a regular basis. And because of that, you're missing out on opportunities. So these are the three main buckets we're going to send this to. And then the kind of punchline here is what I'm going to show you is to get the consistency. And by consistency, I mean, can you hit all of the people in your mailing lists consistently a certain number of times a year, whether it's only one time a year, 4 times a year, which will get you quarterly, 6 times a year, maybe every other month. Maybe you've got the budget and you're just going to go crazy with this, and you're going to do the same. You're going to do this offer once a month, right? 12 times a year. I was recently reading a study. It's just like Direct Marketing Association. I didn't vet the source or whatever, but I've heard things like 21 days is probably ideal. That's probably why you keep seeing the same credit card offers over and over again. It's like they send you the same exact thing over and over, and they seem to arrive maybe every week, but usually once a month you see the same thing. So the point I'm making here is that it probably doesn't hurt to send more. It definitely hurts to send very infrequently because it allows people to forget about you. All right, so that's my setup. I'm going to look over in the comments. Man, I hope I didn't mess this up. So nobody has commented yet. If you do see the chat, let me know. If you don't see questions, let me know. Or I'm just going to be talking to myself. So let me see here. I see a few hands raised. I must have left the questions off. Can you guys bear with me for 1 second? I'm going to go into the Zoom settings live here in my other monitor and just see if I can get away with fixing this mistake, because it's really weird there'd be so many of you and not any questions. So sorry about that. Let me just go look in the settings. Did I not let you guys talk to me? Yeah, it says disable. Thanks, Eric. Oh, why did I do that? Let's see. Q&A, can I turn that on? At least we'll have that on. Here in a second, if I click save. And if you can't, then we're just going to have to call this a demo and have to say that you'll have to email Ryan@thanks.io with your comments. And I really apologize for this mistake of you guys not being able to talk to me. Let's see here. All right. All right. We're going to continue on here in a minute. I did try to enable the chat, the Q&A. I don't see the actual chat, which could be because attendees can submit, attendees can upload. Okay. Attendees can comment. Let's see. All right. Well, I hope maybe that started it working. Panelists can chat with everyone. Attendees can chat with hosts and panelists. All right. Thank you, guys. Sorry for that. I think you might be able to see the chat now. Yes. Awesome. Thank you. Thank you. All right. So that was our setup here on this doc. Hopefully, just let me know real quick that you're following where I'm going here. I'm basically saying, hey, if you're going to start using direct mail, don't try to do 100 things. Let's pick one thing that works and send it over and over again so that people keep seeing the same messaging from us. They see our brand over and over again. We get that top of mind status. And then a certain percentage of homeowners on the list raise their hand and they list or sell with us, or they send us a referral because they remember who we are. Free at last, Dennis. Yep. Okay. So let's hop on in, and I'm going to give you more context here. I'm going to show you a campaign that I recently built for a friend of mine, Brett Furman. And this one happened to go to a portion of his house list. And this might be a little small on your screen. I say house list, so probably not the terminology I should use. A portion of his sphere of influence who had addresses on file in his database. So we took about 200, 7 of them didn't pass the sniff test with our filtering. We try to make sure we don't send to a bad address. And we sent the card I'm going to show you in a minute to 193 of those people, and 25 of them scanned the card, which in direct mail terms is blazing response, right? I didn't even do the math before, but that's north of 12%, 13% or more. Somebody could divide 25 by 193 and let me know, but that's a pretty high response rate. And the card that we sent, just bring it up here, is one of our dynamic cards, and it says, see how much 48 Colfax Road. Now, this is a merge. The 48 Colfax Road might sell for today. Scan the QR code to instantly see valuations from 4 different independent sources. That little kind of byline may be affecting the response rate a little bit. Brett uses a system called iList, which some of you guys may have heard about, that allows you to get 4 different. I really don't think it matters all that much what you're using as the destination tool. So if you have KV Core, if you have Lofty, whatever you're using, and you want to send people street text, you want to send people to that URL, just word this a tiny bit differently. Just say scan the QR code to instantly see what your evaluation from an independent source or an independent opinion. You can vary that slightly. And then the other side, I think Brett wrote the first paragraph here, maybe at one point, or I tweaked it, but it just says understanding your home's value is critical, whether you're thinking of selling or just curious about your investment values. Scan the QR code to instantly see 4 independent opinions of what a buyer might sell 48 Colfax Road for in today's market. I'm highlighting a mistake I made, which we've since fixed. I had what a buyer might sell. So it was like a typo. Brett pointed it out after they went out, after he'd already gotten like 15 scans. So it just goes to show that you can still mess this up and still get results. So 25 of his past customers re-engaged to see what their house was worth, right? They not only did that, but they saw his name on a postcard again. They saw the logo, built top of mind status. That's the point I'm trying to make. And then what we're going to do is we're going to keep sending this on a repetitive basis at least 4 times a year. Knowing Brett, he'll want to do it more frequently because he really likes mail. And the reason why I think this works is because people are always interested, of course, in what their house might sell for. And if somebody's not interested today and they don't scan today, they may be interested in 2 months because life situations change, right? I think I'm fairly confident this is an evergreen offer that's been tried and tested by pretty much every real estate agent in the country for the last 20 years or even longer, right? And we know that this converts on some level. So why not go with what works and send this on a consistent basis? So that's the card that I'm going to build out here for the workshop part of this. So Sue's asking, how do you test the address? Our system automatically does like a verification against the postal database, and if it doesn't think that address is accurate for some reason, it'll kick it out. So it might have just been a bad address in the import, something like that, right? Blair is asking, if someone scans for their value, can they automatically be removed and added to a different campaign? Yep, they definitely can. You would do that via Zapier. So if you have access to Zapier, you can see in the actions in Zapier, you have these different options where like remove from mailing list on scan or send a webhook to your CRM. You can trigger other activities. But yep, Blair, definitely. So that's the campaign. And what I wanted to do to kind of pay off the promise that we had here when we invited you to a webinar is walk you through step by step how to build this and how to put it on an automated we call it staggered sending, so that you pick the frequency that somebody gets this card throughout the year. Now, I do want to hear comments because I haven't shared this idea with too many people, but how would you feel about sending the same thing over and over again? Do you feel like that's kind of weird? Like maybe you should vary it up? Or would you try that knowing that, one, people probably forget what you even sent them a few months ago, right? They're not paying that much attention to what you're doing, or that you just would want to vary it up just because it's lame and boring to do one. So curious about what your opinions are there. And I will mention that you will have the freedom to change this in the campaign I'm going to build down the road, but I think launching with the idea that you're going to do it over and over again is a good, healthy way to go. So I'm looking here. Yeah, dictating can stay the same. If you have your branding consistent, then the message can change. I agree, Cindy. Yeah, we're going to talk a little bit about how to do that. Yeah, thanks for the comments, guys. So glad I got the chat working. That was very amateur of me. I forget to turn the chat on. All right, so let's go into the system here, and let's start to build this out. And the good news is we recently actually built a feature in Thanks.io that makes it pretty easy for us to share these creatives with you guys. So I've started building some out on our blog. And after the webinar, I'm actually going to give you the direct links that'll just pull these creatives into your Thanks.io account. I'll send that as an email separately. I just didn't get that page quite ready to use yet. But I'm just going to go into my real estate templates account. And we'll go to message templates here. Let's see, here's the one. So here is the text. So I'm going to grab that template. What's funny is I already had these sitting on my clipboard, so I'm making you guys watch for no reason, really. Let me just make sure. And my image templates. Make sure I have the right ones. Okay, so to build these out, you can either create these from scratch or you can use the share links. And what I'm going to do in here is I'm just going to create a fresh Thanks.io account. I'll just create it as a sub account here. And let's use Shelley Levine, my favorite character from Glengarry Glen Ross. So we'll call him Shelley Levine. And then we won't even put the return address in. That could be done later. So let's pretend that you have a totally fresh Thanks.io account. That's the example we're doing here. So make sure I'm in the right sub account. Now, the first thing that you're going to want to do is you're going to want to make sure that you have your branding set in the system. You see where on the bottom here where I'm hovering my mouse, Brett has his picture and his logo. So whenever somebody signs up for a Thanks.io account, and that might be you, you might not have used the system yet or gotten around to it, we like to recommend that you go ahead and you check out our branding builder. This tool just makes it easy for your letterheads, your backside of your postcards, all your designs to be just ready to go without you having to fuss too much with them. So I'm going to get rid of the website search. A lot of times you can just look at your website and do that, but we'll do Shelley Levine. He worked at Mitch and Murray Company in the movie. We'll just do Shelley at Mitch and Murray. We'll just, his phone number will start with 911. So if anybody calls it, that'll be fun. There we go. And then we just need a headshot image. So just get his headshot. So you would do the same thing, right? You would go grab your picture, grab your logo. Not this Shelley, Glengarry. Here he is. So I'll just take a screenshot of him. And you'll take your information and you'll run it through our branding builder, like so. There. It sets your accent color. If you put your website in, it'll lift all the colors off your website. It'll grab the logo of your company. I don't know if there's a Mitch and Murray logo. I bet you there is. Watch this. In fact, maybe I've created it in the past. Yeah, there's some stuff on there. Here, let's see. I don't know. That's probably not a real estate company. Here it is. Free coffee with every close. Okay. Let's not get too distracted, but you'll want to get your logo in. It makes sense to spend a few minutes just kind of getting this right. We'll generate preview. It wants me to pick a color for the logo. It's a little bit of a glitch in the system here. Let me see. It says it's not set, so I'm just going to grab. Let's see. Checkbox. Are we set now? There we go. So what this does is it makes the backside of the postcard. You can kind of see it popping up there. I picked an ugly green color. I'll fix that later. All right, I'll fix it now. Make sure it looks how you want it to look. And then click Generate Content Set. And that will pull those into your dashboard so that when you're sending the message sides, and if you happen to send letters or note cards or other types of sends later, a lot of the heavy lifting on the design is done for you. So now if I go to message templates and I grab my little template link, which you guys are going to get afterwards, and I'll make sure it's on our blog at go.thanks.io afterwards. And if I just visit that URL while I'm logged into my account, it should pull everything in nicely for me. You see, we've got the Shelly's branding at the top right. I can choose a different font or normal print if I want. By the way, we're going to have much better AI handwriting here soon. It's going to be pretty cool. You can change up the wording a little bit if you want. You'll see here the URL that generates the QR code. This is specific to iList, where you can merge in some attributes of the recipient, and then it jumps them straight into their home value. But you would use whatever system you use for your home valuation tool. So if you have KV Core, it's something like /sell or /valuation, whatever it is. I just left this blank and just said, if you use iList, put your subdomain in there. So make sure you don't use this as is. You want to make sure you have the right URL rendering the QR code. But that's our message background. Pretty easy. Let's make sure we give it a title, home value message, and then I'll save that in the system. And now I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to grab my image template. I'm doing this in another browser. Just makes life pretty easy here. And it's going to open up our dynamic image builder. So in case you're wondering, if you went to image templates and you clicked image builder up top here, it would bring you to that same tool. So the template links just kind of load up everything that was in the base, and it's kind of ready to go. So you can see it says your logo here. We're going to want to replace that where it says logo image URL. And then we want to make sure, again, that we have the right QR code in. We could vary up the language if we want. But the key thing that I'll point out here is that one of the reasons these cards convert so well is because we're dynamically placing the street view onto the postcard. So it's a picture of that person's house. So Dick's saying HomeBot, yep, or et cetera. Yeah, whatever you're using, HomeBot, street text, your company website, a custom form that you build. You could build something with Google Forms. So make sure the URL is in there correct. And I don't know if I said this already. If I'm repeating myself, sorry. But anytime you get the QR scan, you're going to be notified by email that happens. So whether the person opts in at that page, you're going to know you have a live body, so you can send more follow-up mail. You can go knock on the door. You can drop off a CMA, in a nice package. Josh does this sometimes with his like DHL looking letters you guys may have seen. So the scan kind of shows some intent and gives you a reason to follow up right there. So really cool stuff. So here's our dynamically built image. There are other template designs here, and you can put your own overlays underneath. Only thing I would say about that is, why not start the campaign, get it done and dusted and launched and out the door before you mess with the design too much? Because I promise changing up this design or worrying too much about the colors and everything is not going to affect conversions all that much. But if you do want more intense branding, just know it is possible to do in the system via the overlay image URL. So, money follows speed. Get your minimum viable version out. And what I'm giving you here today is your minimum viable version right here. I will mention here, you can kind of see in the iList domain, we're merging in attributes of the recipient into that URL, a little bit geeky. And then in the see how much, we're putting a tag that says see how much, and we're merging in the address right there. So there's some cool, variable stuff you can do. So I'm going to just click generate preview. Save dynamic image template. And now that I have these both in the system, I can start to build out the automation, right, for the workshop part here today. So the first thing I'm going to need is I'm going to need my mailing list. So as I said in the spreadsheet, the Google Doc here, there's a few ways you can get a mailing list going. So that's going to be up to you. I would definitely suggest anybody that's your low-hanging fruit, right? You should your aunts, your former coworkers, the kids, the parents of the kids at your kids' soccer team, right? Anybody who's kind of in your sphere, everybody knows what a sphere is, and you have their address. try to get them into the system into a mailing list. So you just click add mailing list, upload from CSV, and get it going. Next, you can add, if you don't have that, or if you want to add in addition to that, you can build lists from directly within the ThanksIO system. So I can go to radius search and I can say, hey, everybody near me, near where I live or in my farm, whatever, I want to go ahead and make sure that the 100 people closest to me who are my neighbors, and maybe it's my 100 people who have a home equity of 50% plus. You can get a little fancier with this. I want those 100 people to get mail from me on a consistent basis all the time because they live close to me or they're in my farm, and I don't want them listing with anybody else. I want to lock this down. So I can go into the system, and for 5 cents a record, for $5, I can buy a list of the 100 nearest homeowners, or the 100 nearest homeowners with home equity of 50% plus, 100 nearest homeowners with kids. You know, maybe that's my niche, people with pools. You know, there's a number of categories in here. And then I can add that directly to the system. Let me see if it'll let me do that. Yeah, it will. I didn't know because I created a new sub account if it would require a credit card. So it'll pull the list into the system for me right here. So we'll let that kind of spin its wheels for just a second. One thing I'll mention, this is kind of new. If you use our radius list builder, as you'll see here in a second, we're actually started pulling in their home equity value. This is a tangent. This is a squirrel off to the side. I don't want you to get distracted by this, but when you see this list load, you'll actually see the home equity value and the known mortgage. I mean, the home value and the known mortgage value, so that you could calculate, you can kind of see the equity. So let's just see. It's taking a second here to spin and load up that list. But you can actually merge in as custom field 1 and custom field 2 into the body of your postcard. You could say, hey, it looks like your home might be worth, and then merge in custom 1 and have a little fun with that. But again, I'm going on a tangent. Let me refresh and see if this kind of loads up here. And it's not important that it loads. It usually does take a few seconds for the mailing list to upload. It's been quicker than this lately, so I'm not sure why I'm getting a spin. But I want to be patient because I want to show you guys this. So it's been about a minute. All right, we'll hop off. I'm going to rename the list just so I know what it is by clicking up at the top left. So I'll name this, there we go, 100 closest. I'll just call it my zip code. I'm closest to my house, 50% plus equity. So all I'm doing here is just naming the mailing list so I can find it later when I build my automation rules. This is what I was showing you right here. This custom 1, what I was just talking about, custom 1 and custom 2. You see the first number, we started merging these in. That's the assumed home value. Don't ask me where the data comes from. I don't know. And here's what the mortgage value is. But it's kind of a cool thing to see at a glance, right? Dick's saying I'm on Zoom, so it's slower. Yeah, must be. But you can see it's kind of a cool thing to be able to see in the system. You can also, in Thanks.io, I'll mention, for 20 cents a record, you can do an append on the entire list, which basically means if I click this append, it'll be 20 cents a lookup, and it'll find the email and phone number whenever it can. So that's kind of a cool built-in feature if you want to use that. But anyway, I'm going on a tangent. Basically, the 3 components of our mailing list of our campaign is we have a mailing list with people ready to send to. We have a message template making our home value offer. And then we have that's that. And then we have our dynamic image that's dynamically putting information and attributes about the recipient, including a picture of their house, onto the card. The last step in building this is going to be to go to Thanks.io's campaign functionality right here. And I'm going to click Add New Campaign. And I'm just going to walk through real quick the wizard here. I just designed some postcards. I can choose 4x6 or 6x9. Look, I want to sell you more 6x9s because we make a little more on them. And if you have additional branding, you want the extra space. But 4x6 is a fine place to start. We don't see a huge difference in conversion rate between 4x6 and 6x9. I think because when people do 6x9, the bigger cards, they clutter it up with branding sometimes. So, 4x6 do that. The 6x9 obviously is bigger, and if you do it right, probably could convert more, but just pick one of those. I'm going to pick my how much template. It pops up here on the right side. I'm going to pick my message template. You can kind of see that over on the right side as well. And then I'm going to pick my mailing list. And then the next thing I'm going to do, Well, before I mention this, this is sort of a new feature here. You can append or current resident to increase delivery rate. Sometimes the post office will kick something back at you if that person has moved and they're no longer at the address. If you do the or current resident, more will get through. So that's up to you if you want to do that. I think it's probably fine to just do that, because the person at the house might be curious about the value of the house, whether it's the new homeowner or not. So and then the big kind of payoff here, this whole consistency and the staggered sending thing, it all lives under here under select sending preferences. And it's all the way at the bottom. You guys probably almost can't see it. Let me bring it up higher. All the way at the bottom right there, I'm going to click staggered daily sending. And it says, how many times per year would you like to send to each recipient? And I can come in here and say, you know what, these 100 people, I don't want them to ever forget that I'm in their neighborhood selling real estate, and I'm just the guy who is consistent. All these other yahoos, my competitors, they only send like a just listed card here and there, or they'll send like a Merry Christmas, but they forget half the time anyway. I'm gonna be the guy who shows up in their physical mailbox every month, and I'm gonna hit 12, right? And what that'll do, if I hit 12, it'll divide the year by 12, and I'll make sure everybody on the list gets one card a month. So I use 12 as the easy math. If you put 6, well, it's gonna be half as much. It's gonna be once every 2 months. If you put 4, 4 would be once every quarter. You just put 1 over the number. That's how frequently. So I'll go ahead. I'll go with the 12 because I'm ambitious. I'll click save, start campaign. And now, just like that, while I was talking to you guys, in about 15 minutes, you saw me do the whole thing from start to front. Of course, I know the system really well. It might take you a little longer, but in under an hour, you can get a campaign live that has a good chance of converting, that gets homeowners to interact with something from you, sees your brand, and you'll hit them X number of times a year without ever thinking about it. This will just run and run and run without you ever having to log into Thanks.io again. And if it works as I'm seeing it work, Brett, who I use as my example, that's not the only one. We've seen a good number of other cases where this card is this almost exact same language is converting well. If it works on that level, what you should see is that on a list of 100, you'll have, what's that, 400, 1,200 cards a month. You'll have a handful going out every day, and you'll just gradually see these scans come in. You'll see them come in, and then you'll go and you'll do more intense follow-up. I would recommend actually go to the property if you're close enough by and drop them off a CMA, knock on the door if you can, especially in this market, where things are maybe a little slower, or you really want to differentiate yourself. So that's the whole campaign. The last thing that I want to mention by way of demo is that once you have your list here, maybe your initial sphere of influence, just remember it is possible to automatically zap new people onto that list and have the rules follow. So say you're generating a lead from street text online, or you're running a Facebook ad to generate an online seller lead, right? And those leads are coming into your CRM, KV Core or something. Well, you can zap that onto this list, and then that person will automatically get the 12, the 4, the 6 cards a year. Or, or say you have somebody who you just closed a house with, right? You just sold them a house. Well, if you can manually put them into this list, or you can zap them over from your CRM using Zapier. And again, they'll start getting that. So the simplest, like most essentialist kind of way to look at this is that you just have your one mailing list where everybody on that list is just getting this repetitive card. Dick's saying zap or just do one at a time, or CSV. Answer is all of the above. Yeah, you can manually add to the list. So Dick's, good question. So if you have the one list running, you just go add to the list up at the top here, and you'll see you can upload from CSV, manually enter. You can do another radius search and add more people, or purchase a custom list. What I would probably do, I'm saying you can add it all to the same list. Maybe you want to separate your sphere from your cold lists, right? And just build an extra rule in the campaign logic for each list. It only takes a second to do. This way, like if you want to, what's cool about having everybody in here getting this card, if you want to send the Happy New Year's card, well, you could just come in here and send everybody on that sphere list, pretend this is called sphere. You just go send them a Happy New Year card, or something, whatever. Or if you have a big open house in the area, you want to let everybody know that you have a new listing, or do a just sold or just listed or something, then they're all in that one list. And it's your high value contacts that are in there. Ian saying, this whole thing is blowing my mind. I can't wait to implement. Yeah, thanks. Yeah, it's, for us, because we're close to the platform, myself, Justin, Mel, Walt, like we feel like this is just basic. But every time we show it to people, they're like, "Oh, this is awesome!" But it's really quite simple once you understand how to pull it off. Again, where I started at the top was people come in and are like, "Oh, whoa, I could do this, I could do that, I could do that," and we're kind of a victim of our own feature set where there's so many bells and whistles. Where if you just focus on, hey, I got to get that frequency, that repetitive, that consistency, and we focused on the tools in here that'll help you do that. In my opinion, that staggered send is a really good one. Then you'll have success. I will mention, when you dig into the campaigns, you have the staggered send. You could also break this down and say, hey, I want my cards to go out on a set day every year, right? So I want June 15th, August 2nd. You could do that as well, specific dates, or you can do drip type stuff or yearly or monthly. But again, the staggered sending is what keeps it simple. I'm looking here for questions that I might have missed. Yeah, so yeah, it might, back to the thing where you're sending the same thing over and over again. Again, people might forget that you've sent the same thing, but they also might feel like it's valuable because they're like, oh, here's my home update. If I want to see what it says now, this is fun. I'll scan the card. So you might get people who scan it every month or every quarter when they get the card. The last thing I want to leave as a takeaway for you guys is, say you have 100 people or 1,000 people on this, Eric, and you have 1,000 people on this. You could say, all right, well, it's going to take, if I'm sending 4 times a year, it's going to take 2 months, do some math. And then all those people will have seen this card once. There's nothing stopping you from 3 months from now just going in and changing the offer in those existing creatives. So you can change the text up here, and you can change the text up here in that existing creative, so they start to get something different. Now I'm adding another layer of complexity, but that's kind of a cool way to have variation without having to build a bunch of creatives from the start. You just say, hey, here's what's the campaign that's running to that sphere of influence or to that geo farm, and let's just change the messaging for the next few months. And you just come in and change it. And as long as you don't alter the actual template, the rules should hold from our campaigns. Meaning, as long as you don't delete that template and create a new one, but you're using the same one, it should follow all that same logic for you. Well, so I'm just looking here at comments. So yeah, that's it, guys. How to build a staggered sending, a consistent staggered sending campaign, whatever I called it in the invite. Last thing I'll leave you with is, as many of you probably know, we're pretty full service here at ThanksIO. If you like this campaign, you like the idea of it, but you don't want to mess with the technical gobbledygook, like I said, we're pretty self-serve. You can chat us. I'm in the admin account, so you don't see the live chat at the bottom right, but you can just chat us and say, hey, I like that campaign Ryan was sending. Just be specific for us. Let us know, we'll need your mailing list, right? We'll need some details. Or you can just schedule with us. I believe there's an automation concierge link. Yep. Over on the left side of the dashboard, automation concierge. And you just hop on a quick 15-minute Zoom call with us. And so we can get together, get your logo, get the mailing list, all the assets together for you to get this going. So if you're totally new with us and you're not sure where to start, we like the new users. But if you kind of are bought in on this idea and you're like, yeah, I just want to go implement that, I don't need to figure out how to do it, you guys can do it for me. Just use the 4 existing users, design and automation help, and we'll get it going for you. So yeah, good question from Claudine. Each homeowner has a unique dynamic QR code, street view image on each postcard. Yep. That's exactly how it works. So we're dynamically creating the QR code specific to that person. This way, one, we can tell you who it was, right? And so that's one of the big reasons. But the other cool thing is that you can merge attributes about them into your destination URL. So Joe and his team over at iList, they kind of like built this cool thing where we're merging in the city, state, zip, and all this other stuff, and it hops people right into their home value. Like they don't even need to enter anything, their address or anything when they get to the page. So that's an example of a cool implementation of that. But yes, dynamically personalized QR codes that are built on the fly for every recipient. Cool. Well, thank you for the questions, guys. Assuming I'm not seeing any more, give me some feedback just so I know what you thought of this. Should I do this more often? We haven't been very good on the webinar front here at ThanksIO, mostly because I'm tired in the morning from having to deal with Josh, talk to him. It just takes it all out of me. So, but maybe we'll start maybe we'll start doing some more of these if you guys liked it. Some different use cases and examples. But this is the one, you know, if I was like moving to a new market, which I kind of am right now, and I was like, you know, I just kind of need a consistent campaign that should generate me ROI. I kind of like this one. When you do the math, 70 cents a postcard, so 100 people 4 times a year, that's 400 times 70 for 280 bucks. I'm doing the math in my head. For $280, you can hit 100 people 4 times a year with a postcard in the mail. Will you get a 1% conversion rate to a listing? I think if you do the follow-up right, you know, you should probably 10% or more of those people will eventually scan it if they get it 4 times. And if you can get 1 in 10 of those to do some business with you, you know, for $280 to get a transaction, I think all of us would be happy with that. No promises on those numbers, but you know, the nice thing about real estate is it's just one of those industries that works with this kind of an advertising media because typically the commissions or, you know, what you earn takes care of the cost of sending. So Cindy, yeah, well, I'll email this out probably tomorrow morning. Josh or I will email it all out to all you guys, and we'll make sure you get that. Hopefully I had the record on the whole time, didn't mess that up. Yeah, it's still recording, so we'll get that up. We'll probably just throw it on the ThanksIO or the Wake Up Real Estate channel as soon as I have the recording. So thanks for watching, guys. Thanks for being here. As always, just hit that automation concierge option in the dashboard if you need any help, or just chat us in the live chat if you have any specific questions about this or anything else related to ThanksIO. All right, have a good day. Bye.